Hi, everyone. I'll try to keep this as simple as I can. One of the things that I've mentioned and many others in the last several years, as part of this ascension, the governments must come down as well. Now, this is divinely handled that we don't directly take the governments down. What actually happens and is happening is the governments and the legal systems, every part of that, what they have done is they have actually written their demise. They have written their implosion. And how they have done that is through the laws that they have created. And to try to keep this like very short and simple, the laws that they created actually has restrict themselves, come back into a loop and put them in a box that they cannot get out of. And and if you simply want to look at laws that they have written just in the recent past, and it prepared us for these times, what they have written is laws that any citizen, like you, uh, if you see something that is not right within a government, and by the way, governments don't have impunity. There's also international laws and, the UN Declaration. All of these must act. And if they do not act, well, then it also implicates them as contributing to a crime. And so it's the way they have the laws written that they either got to do the right things and tell the truth and dissolve all of the corruption, or they implode. It's that simple. And within their laws, they put the restriction on every citizen that if you know that something is corrupt, you are obliged to comply with the law and come forward and share that with others. And any government employee uh, as well, if they see something wrong, it is their obligation as a citizen to the other people as well to report that and come forth with it. And let's go a little deeper. Let's go into the financial markets. Let's go into the legal systems, the lawyers and the judges. But let's look at the lawyers. In actuality, at this point, I'm just grabbing a number that 99% of the lawyers around the world knows that the legal systems are corrupt. And what these lawyers also know is that there's two sets of laws. And the lawyers that are part of the corruption, they have their set of laws that they can win any case in court because there is collusion with the judges to do so. And you look at, I know some of you have been unjustly have been unjustified by the courts, and this is why it is. You never could win. They present the illusion that it's fair, but in actuality, no, it's all controlled by judges, lawyers, governments, all by the wealth to keep you suppressed, and that is the fact of it. But what is so amazing and so beautiful is they have written enough legislation and passed enough laws that it does not really even take a genius at this time to collapse and void every government and every part of it, including their legal system. One thing with any written law, once there is also, if there's two laws in existence within one written law package that contradicts each other, it makes the laws void. And you see how they complicated laws over the years with handing you such things as constitutions, guaranteeing your sustenance and places. They're guaranteeing you, your survival, and and here they are, turning around like banks, taking your houses, leaving you out on the streets, and all these preposterous and really atrocious acts what they perpetrate, and but we are at this point that so many have waken up. And I mentioned the other day about you know, that we have the light within every profession. You know, we within the governments and at the highest, we do have light ones in there. And the thing is that many of them, just like you, were not awake, and you know they're put in there. But when you snap your fingers and they all wake up, you know, they're coming out with even more of the documentation for the masses to just implode everything. So, you know, to share with you, it's all been divinely um, set in place. So it will implode. The governments will implode the way you saw them. And what we are going to here very quickly on the timelines where we're at, you know, on Gaia, on this earth, there will be just a council of 12 administrators on the whole planet as we keep transitioning through the timelines. Some of you will be staying on, you know, lower timelines, not lower 5D timelines, you know, where things keep getting better and you keep affecting the change. And a lot of us are going much higher. We keep going ahead, creating other timelines for the human experience as well. And, you know, some takes, let's say, pretty interesting leaps into the higher dimensions, but I won't get into that because that's not what this is about. It's just to give you a little bit of information why things must implode, and it's confirmation that they must and that they will. So, you know, we are at these very important stages as you look at what I just posted. You know, that information that come out about the Catholic Church, which is, you know, it was one of the wealthiest institutions on the planet. And, you know, when you have something, an institution like that with, you know, quite a bit of gold investments, you know, their financial investments, and you see that, you know, and they're only one, but you see that, and you see children starving, and you know, the poverty, and well, I don't need to go into that. You just know how you feel in your heart something wasn't right about that. So you're absolutely correct. So it's being revealed, you know, all of the pedophile rings as well, they're intertwined. So with the church and the other, let's say the Hollywood things, these are all connected, yes. And it, you can, what you will find here in the very near future is that it is a worldwide cult interconnected with all the wealthy upon the planet, and uh, not all the wealthy, but most of them. You get what I'm saying. So it's all coming down, and it's being revealed because these things cannot go with us into the 5D. So we're tearing it right down to its core, and what will be built and left here on these lower 5D timelines is it's going to be constructed new, but it's going to, the foundation is going to have the integrity with it. And the old systems like the governments and religions, they were not built on that integrity. Their foundation was built on illusion and deception. And we are in the time since 2012. Let's say divinity says what happens here, and that the days of old when the dark um, you know, had the rule of the playground. That is no longer it, and they have no choice, and it's that simple, and that's why you know, others, we just speak so freely, and you don't need any confirmation that it is so. For example, if you look at the ITCC, um, let's just say if someone thought it was fake, You know, they've been doing this for several years, digging the information up. And if the governments and anyone else really had any authority, they would have laid charges against those, you know, for libel and what have you under their laws. But the fact is that the governments and none of them can't, because they know it's truth, and it's inevitable. Everything is being disclosed. So just to let you know that. So very importantly, yeah, we are amidst of it. We are seeing it, and the monetary systems, the governments. It's you know, it's going to come a point that there may be a little bit of chaos. I'm uncertain. You know, for a couple of weeks, things may shut down. We may experience that timeline. Uh, And what dictates if that happens is that if so many light ones within the professions, the legal professions, the financial markets, even some that we have in the governments, if they're to awaken very quickly, well, what happens is they walk away from their jobs. They have no choice. It's written on the planet, so they must walk away from that or incriminate themselves, but also their consciousness when they're awakened to that degree, and let's just say from their heart, they can no longer do that, deceive and pillage and be part of the slavery of the other people. So this is how it dissolves, and this is what's happening. And we are amidst that. And you know, economists and lawyers, we do see the evidence in the past of those awakening, stepping away from, let's say, the professions and getting more in line with assisting the ones that were awakening, you know, and creating and setting up new currencies that would be temporary outside of, you know, all known world currencies, even the brick outside of the, you know, what the brick countries were doing. Because in reality, again, we are transitioning the human civilization away from money and the need of it. It's not required, but we're breaking that control of it. So all the financial markets, everything was corrupt, and it cannot stand like that. And this is why I mentioned, you know, all of the markets must collapse on the timelines where we are at, and all of the things about money. They have just been so blatant in their crimes, for example, with governments and banks. Like the way it was set up, the banks control, you know, the financial markets, and the governments provide the security for it to be controlled. They do that in various ways. Your securities regulators, for one thing, let's just say Canada, the securities regulators are agencies of the government, but in reality, what they do is they cover up what the banks actually do. And the banks control every stock. So every stock or bond you have, in theory, the banks have the power, because they have the money, to take that stock from zero to $1,000, or to take it from $1,000 to zero in the blink of an eye. And they do this digitally. And, you know, also the accountants and economists on the planet, if you are to do a little bit of math on any government or any bank, you will see that the numbers do not add up. And, you know, in regards to what currency, the amount of currency that's supposed to be out, and actually what is circulating. And that's because, as well, what they have done is they'll give you a number. Oh, we got $100,000 circulated, but they kept creating and creating digitally, you know, creating the fiat money, which is, you know, it's many, many times more than that. But also in the course of creating that money, you didn't get it. They kept you suppressed because, you know, your governments put your pensions into the stock markets, and there's a sort of a algorithm and a math that they do with that, you know, for instance, the baby boomers today, You know, you were supposed to be only head to maybe 3 or 4 days a week if you wanted, but you'd be retiring with big pensions, you know, and this was put out back in the 70s. But look at what your pensions are today. Just take Canada, you know, look at the elderly people here with pensions that are below poverty. So you had a government in reality that was putting the people's pensions into the stock markets and with the banks. And so if you compare old age pension checks or whatever, if you compare it to the amount that politicians are getting, and you know, the big ones that are part of the crimes, well, you'll see that since 1970, their pensions have risen manyfold above the poverty level, while your pension has perhaps even went below the poverty level, you know. So it's and you take like the Canadian Revenue Agency, all the public sector pensions in Canada. You look at them, that you know, you get good pensions from that, and it's way above the average. And but it's set up to do it that way, and through things such as the investigative journalists, with such things as Panama Papers, Luxembourg Papers. These were huge instruments that were released with documentation of proof of what governments were doing, banks were doing. Very, very happily, you know, the CCR or the CRA, Canada Revenue Agency, you know, even what they were doing that was illegal. So it's it's actually quite hilarious. So you see the CRA in Canada, Canada Revenue Agency, trying to collect taxes from people, and then publicly released, you see things like the Luxembourg paper that show that the where the CRA's pension fund for their employees is invested into a Ponzi scheme that, yeah, it defrauded the German people of millions of tax dollars. Now, no one has to be a genius to see what's going on there as well. So, you know, that's only just one example of so many things that we have. So the governments and everything as it is a farce, and yes, it's coming down. It cannot go into our futures where we're going. So I'll stop rattling on. I just wanted to share that with you. But at the end of this, I have you know, others that I was going to assist, but uh, at this time, I do not consciously know when I will ever get back to you. So I suggest you have the other teachers, each one work together, and you know, even the connections back and forth, you are passing so much knowledge back, and it's strengthening each one. So you know, I will try perhaps over the next month to get back to you. I still have way over 100 pending, and there's just I love you all, and you know, there's so much prowess there that needs to be contained. So what I'm saying is, do not wait for me to get back to you. Start connecting. I have the post put out that many have offered their services, you know, at this most important time. Connect with them. I suggest you go through the list. I believe, you know, by me glancing through the list, we have everything covered from metaphysics to dark entities. You know, it just go through your list and connect with those. Anything that you feel that you need to have more education on, or even a better understanding. So connect with those, and don't question, not anyone, teachers or any of you at this time. Do not question yourself. Act fully confidently on what you get in your heart. Don't hesitate. And we are at that times, and we're going, you know, much quicker forward. And as a result, as you keep getting stronger and keep uniting and connecting with all, you know, let me just say, you know, it is possible you could connect with 3 million other angels here. You know, it won't go that far before we blast off, but I'm just letting you know there is really no restriction nor limit on the amount of ones you can connect with and keep creating the unity web, because that is so strong as well. So as soon as you connect with another, you're building a piece of a collective web that is so important, and we're able to, let's say, generate a lot of the divine gifts and knowledge through that web as well. This is why unity and connecting to others is so important. I suggest don't restrain from doing that. So to keep it simple and just summarize what I just said, I have many messages, and I do not consciously know when I will be able to address you. So, you know, have patience, but meanwhile, don't sit around and wait for me getting back to you. Connect with the others. That is so important. I will do my best with time that I have here to do that. But also in the next coming week, it's looking like that, you know, I may not be on the internet here. There's some other things I must divinely do and things I must do for myself. So I may not be on for a week or so, just letting you know that too. But so much is happening. You just cannot project any plans, any of you really. You should not be projecting any plans into the future that you're going to be here, you're going to be there. You just got to keep yourself open and flexible, because the moment you have a certain plan, you are restricting where you're going, and it could create a little bit of chaos for you where you're divinely guided. So it's best if you surrender and go with the flow. Now, this is not saying not to have any plans. You just have a plan as an option that, you know, let's say a couple weeks down the road, you're thinking about going there, you're not sure. You feel like it, that you want to, but you don't restrict yourself to it. That if something else comes up, you accept that because you're guided to do something else in this most important time. And know that everything really that happens here does not matter. But what does matter is what you do, and following your inner guidance, and following that as close as you can and not questioning it. Then you're more easily guided as the veil is lifted more, so that you can more comfortably fly on your own and know that you can draw your answers straight from the heart, what to do. Let's say in a short-term plan, a couple days ahead, you will know yourself. So keep opening your channels for that. And there's an individual basis with all of you, as you know. So meaning that all of your tasks are not the same, and you're put in different places to do different things. And it's all part of your divinity and your angelic work. So we are all a huge team here, you know, affecting and going into every aspect of humanity as well, to ascend things forward and to rectify and correct things. So each one, we are, you could say, from the human standpoint, in the days of reckoning, where each one judges theirself by their actions. And, you know, to what timeline you're going to be on, how far you're going to ascend. So that's why it's so essentially important to keep yourself as virtuous as you can, as pristine as you can, and keep going forward, because anything less than that is actually a block or an anchor that kind of holds you back. So that's important as well. So love you guys so much, and we're having so much fun, and so much more fun to come here. So you have your divine tasks, as well as you have your divine magic that so many more of you are seeing and enjoying as well. And you know, it's adding to your inner knowing that all of this is very real, because you receive your own confirmations, and that's all you need to know. to confirm that it is very real. So, you know, some of you, perhaps you hear me speaking and haven't experienced this. Well, hey, keep yourself open to it because it's coming. And you got to have patience, practice the virtues, do the right things, and then it comes more quickly. That's why it's not coming. You have not done um, to the certain degree the virtuous things, and you have not followed intuition. So that's why for some of you, and you know, some of you just newly coming here, that's why the very magical and profound things have not come yet, because these were acting as blocks preventing them. And but it's also a timing with that. So when you're after you've done the inner work and cleaned up, um, you know, your energetic fields enough, then the magic comes and boom, 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 and you see it and you get your confirmations. So actually, you trigger the magic by cleaning yourself up and doing it very quickly. You trust in God, and that, that's all you need. Ah, cool. Some things happening there. So I love you. Love you all. Thank you. Love and light. And we'll catch you soon. Bye. This comical father don't want me to end it, I guess. I can't shut it off. Ah, there we go.